Hello and welcome back to the Be a Better You podcast. I am your host, Allison K. Dagny, and I am so happy that you've decided to join me today. The topic for today is that you are not broken and there is nothing to fix. And I'm going to share a story with you that happened over the holidays so that you can understand just exactly why you are not broken. Now, before we get into that, I want to remind you that tomorrow, December 11th, I have my free online training, How to Break Free from Rumination. And if this is something that you've been struggling with, I would highly encourage you to register for this event. It's at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. However, if you can't make that time, still go ahead and register because you will be able to watch the replay and you'll be able to learn just the same as everyone else, even if you can't make it at that time. Okay, so here's what I want to talk about first and foremost is that most people who are healing from emotional abuse, from trauma, from their childhoods, from abusive relationships, tend to have this thought that I'm broken. They think that I'll never heal or that I'll never be good enough or that I'm the problem or that there's something inherently wrong with me. And I see this over and over again, not only with my clients, I've experienced it myself, but also I have a quiz on my website where you can uncover your beliefs, and this is one of the most common ones that come up. So I figured I would address this today. Now, Thanksgiving was just a few weeks ago, and my kids were over, and my son, who is 15, well, almost 15, and my daughter, who's 17, were helping me cook our Thanksgiving meal. And my son, he comes downstairs with this like blue hairnet on and he gets gloves out, and me and my daughter are cracking up. We're just looking at him like, what is he doing? So we're having fun and we're making all these like amazing sides for Thanksgiving. And my daughter was like in charge of doing the mac and cheese, and I told my son he could either be on like food prep or dish duty. And so we were just having a lot of fun in the kitchen. Well, as my daughter was making mac and cheese, she starts bossing my son around and saying, here, grate the cheese and do this and do that. And so he does, like he just very, easily takes direction and does whatever she says. And as he's grating the cheese, he spills some of it. And I mean, it was a significant amount that spilled onto the floor. And my sister, or his older sister goes, dude, what are you doing? And like, she gets really upset with him and it's kind of yelling at him. And he and I just kind of looked at each other and we wait. And I looked at her and I said, it's okay. It's not a big deal. We can clean it up. We have plenty of cheese. And he gets to cleaning it up. Like he just starts cleaning it up right away. No questions asked, right? But that look on his face when she kind of chastised him for spilling the cheese, I knew right away that he had immediately felt like he had done something wrong, of course, right? Because she's kind of attacking him about it. And, if you have teenagers, you have kids, you understand this is a lot of times how it goes. And over the years, I have learned cooking with my children a lot that it really doesn't help to say things like this or create that kind of feeling inside someone, because it doesn't make it enjoyable in any way and they don't want to continue. So I always wanted my kids to have fun in the kitchen with me. So when that happened, I immediately was like, not a big deal. Let's clean this up. Let's just have fun and move forward. Now, my son could have immediately attached meaning to himself when she did this. He could have thought, I'm so stupid, or I always mess up, or there must be something wrong with me, or I'm broken, right? He could have immediately had those kinds of thoughts going through his mind. But if you were someone who was watching from afar, would you immediately look at my son and be like, wow, he's really broken and he's not good enough and he's such a problem? And he was actively helping, he was actively doing the dishes, he had tried to bring humor in, he was wearing his little hairnet and his gloves, and he was taking direction, and he happened to spill, right? We all make mistakes. So my point here is that just because you might have messed up something, or just because you aren't perfect, and even if someone made you think something negative about yourself, like sort of how my daughter was attempting to do to her brother. And even if you didn't have someone jump in like I did and say, hey, it's okay. It's not a big deal. Like, you can learn from this. You can move on. You are enough and you aren't broken, right? Just because that has happened doesn't mean that you are broken, doesn't mean that there is truly something wrong with you, right? Just because we screw up or just because we make mistakes doesn't mean there's something broken inside of us. So it's important to let that go, right? And letting go isn't about fixing yourself. It's really about realizing that there is nothing to fix. Now, as you're listening to this, you might be saying, but, things like, I feel so stuck and I feel so sad and I keep doing this and I wish that I wasn't doing that. And I'm thinking about the past or the future, or all my mistakes, and I'm lashing out, whatever those things are, right? Then the automatic conclusion that you come to is, well, I must be broken. I must need fixing. But I'm here to tell you, believing you are broken and that you need to be fixed reinforces those bad feelings, those negative emotions, and any unwanted repetitive behaviors. So let me give you an example of this. You've heard of the self-fulfilling prophecies, right? Well, they can be used to your advantage or against you. Okay, so I didn't want my son to be discouraged or uninterested in helping, right? I didn't want him to just be like, fine, I'm done, and leave and not be able to enjoy making food with us on Thanksgiving. I didn't want that to happen. So I decided to, number one, weaken the message that his sister delivered, right? It's not a big deal. It's okay. We can clean it up. It's where we have plenty of cheese, right? I didn't want him to keep spilling things either, right? I didn't want him to be constantly careless, but number two, I focused on what he could do to go forward, right? Can you go ahead and clean that up now, right? Easy. Yeah, I'll just clean it up, right? Now, there are things that we can't just clean up. There are messes that we might make that we can't fix, that we can't go back and change in the past, right? All we can do, right? He couldn't change the fact that he spilled the cheese. He couldn't go back in time and change that. But he could, number one, clean it up. Okay, so if you can do that, fine. And that would be, akin to like making amends or apologizing or whatever. But then going forward, being more careful, right? All we can do is learn from our mistakes. All we can do is try harder the next time to be better, to be a better person. So a self-fulfilling prophecy is based on your thinking. So if you adopt limiting beliefs about yourself, and each time something happens that proves that prophecy, you'll reinforce it and make it a strong reality that you see consistently. So how does this apply to you? If you have this thought that I'm broken, right? And you don't follow through on a healing tool that you just bought. Let's say you just invested in a video or a book or some sort of course or something, right? And you don't follow through on it. You're going to say, see, I'm broken. It reinforces the belief that you already have, okay? So next you might burst into tears out of the blue. And see, I'm broken. I told you, I can't even control my emotions, right? Again, it's reinforcing that belief. Maybe you keep returning to therapy, but you're constantly getting triggered anyway. Well, I'm broken. So see, I keep going to therapy. I keep getting triggered. I'm just broken, right? Well, what if I told you that you aren't broken? And what if I asked you to change the story, right? Maybe you haven't set up stringent habits yet, right? It takes a lot of repetitive action to establish a habit. And maybe you just haven't done that enough times yet. I think it's like 11 times or something. You have to do something consistently to create a habit. Maybe you've only done it 3 times. Maybe you need to do it a lot more in order to make that habit happen, right? Everyone has emotions in response to their external stimulus, right? So maybe it's not just about that you burst into tears out of the blue and you're broken. Maybe it's just that you're responding to something that's happening outside of you, and that's okay. That doesn't mean you're broken, right? Maybe therapy isn't the right tool for you because it's not working. Or maybe the therapist isn't the right therapist for you. Maybe it's not that you're broken. Maybe it's that the tool you're using isn't helping you, right? So we have to start shifting out of this so that we don't keep saying we're broken and seeing these things as self-fulfilling prophecies when we have these external things that happen to us. And now all of a sudden we're reinforcing this idea that we're broken. See, I'm broken, right? It goes back to the example I was giving you about my son with spilling the cheese. If he starts believing that he's careless or that he's messy or that he's a klutz or whatever, and then things like that happen, one, he's going to avoid doing those things. He's not going to spend time with us and our family. But two, he's going to internalize that. And it's going to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. And it's going to keep happening more and more and more. This is just how your brain works. This is just the science of your brain. So the story is telling you one thing, but what if you change the story? What if you create a self-fulfilling prophecy to work for you instead of against you? When this happens, you take the power away from the feeling of being broken, and you start seeing a reality where you are actually not broken at all, but you're learning and growing and healing. So think of it like this. You would not call a pile of goo inside of a butterfly cocoon broken just because it's a pile of goo, right? You wouldn't say, oh, that's broken, it's a pile of goo. No, you'd say, this is in process of metamorphosizing into a beautiful butterfly. And there's actually nothing broken about it, right? So it's a pile of goo. Let's toss it out. It's broken, right? You would never ever say that. It's going through something, right? Just as you are going through something. So think of yourself as that pile of goo, right? You are going through something right now. You are changing, you are shifting, you are learning and healing and growing. And that's exactly what needs to happen for you to turn into that beautiful butterfly. So watch how you talk to yourself, right? Just how I intervened with my son, he messed up, right? That's the truth. But having someone, right, yell at him, like my daughter saying, oh my gosh, like, dude, what's wrong with you? Blah, 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 right? Well, if you messed up or you feel like you did something wrong or you feel broken, right? That's the same thing. That's the equivalent, right? And if someone is saying to you, whether it's in your own head or whether it's someone else's voice or someone outwardly saying like you're broken or you're saying it to yourself, right? That's just a program. That's just a voice. That's just a story, right? The intervention was me in the story with my kids, right? I intervened saying, hey, there's nothing wrong with you. You made a mistake. Let's clean it up. Let's learn from it and let's move forward. That's actually the new program. That's what you need to start practicing saying to yourself. These kinds of things, when we keep repeating, I'm broken, I'm broken, I'm broken, become that self-fulfilling prophecy. There is a part of your brain called the reticular activating system. You can look it up online, you can read about it, you can watch YouTube videos on it. But the reticular activating system filters out all the things that we don't need. So if you're telling your brain that you're broken, it's going to filter out everything else that doesn't show you that. So it's going to be focusing on the things that say I'm broken. So like I said before, if you can't keep up with a particular program that you bought to help your healing, if you feel like every time you leave your therapist's office, you keep getting triggered again, like that is what your brain is going to keep focusing on if you keep saying I'm broken. So how else can you say this? Can you say, you know what? I'm healing. Can you say, I'm metamorphosizing? Can you say, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm in the process of getting better, right? Instead of continuing to repeat this thing and creating a self-fulfilling prophecy for you. It's important to change the story, right? We need to create healthy, self-fulfilling prophecies instead of these things that are keeping us feeling horrible about ourselves, right? You are in the process of transforming, in the processing of becoming that beautiful butterfly that I know you are. All right, so if this is resonating with you, please know that even these kinds of thoughts, even thinking on repeat that you're broken or you can't heal or you'll never heal, right? Or other people can heal, but not me. There's something wrong with me. If this stuff is resonating with you, please know this is also part of rumination. These are things that are thought habits that continue in your brain over and over on an automatic loop. And the good news is you can change that. You can shift it so that you can feel differently, so you can feel good about yourself, and that you're not judging yourself this way, and then you're not feeling bad and guilty or like there's something inherently wrong with you, because there's not. All of the way that you feel and any behaviors that you have and habits start in the subconscious mind. So if you want to change that, it's no different from, let's say, if I have mold in my bathroom and it's coming down the walls, right? I can take bleach to that and I can clean it. But if behind the wall there is a leaky pipe, or if the roof is leaking or something like that, I need to fix that. And that's the same thing that's happening in your brain. So all the behaviors and the emotions that you have are these symptoms of what's going on a much deeper level. So we've got to get to that deeper level and start to change that stuff. So if this is resonating with you tomorrow, and this is your last opportunity to join, go out to my website at www.radiaterise.com. And at the top, there's a little pink bar. You just click on it and you can register for the Break Free from Rumination online training that I'm hosting at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. If you want, you can purchase the $10 upgrade. It's a discovery upgrade that after that call, there's only specific people who pay for it, are going to uncover your specific beliefs that are keeping you in rumination, so I can help you figure out what it is that's at the source of your personal rumination, because everyone's is going to be different, right? So you can join us in that afterwards if you want to, but you're going to have to sign up for it today because it starts tomorrow, so you want to get in now. If you have any questions about it, or you have any curiosities about your own subconscious beliefs, you can always reach out to me on Instagram or Facebook at Allison K. Dagny, and I'd be happy to chat with you over there. Thanks for listening. I hope this episode has been helpful to you, and I will hopefully see you tomorrow at the Break Free from Rumination training. If not, I'll talk to you next week.